In theory, we are now storing all of our blog posts inside of Redis nested on a hash where the key is the user ID. The next thing we're going to do is figure out some way to forcibly clear out that hash. We're going to implement the logic to actually remove the data that sits on that hash key inside of our cache.js file, but we're going to call it from other locations inside of our code base. So let's first change back over to the cache.js file. Inside of here, we're going to define a function down at the bottom of the file and export it. The purpose of this function is going to be solely to delete data that is nested on a particular hash key. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the file, and I'm going to create and export a new object. So I'm going to say module.exports is an empty object like so. And then on this object, I'm going to define a new function called clear hash, like so. So in theory, we might end up exporting multiple functions from this file besides just this clear hash one. That's why I nested it inside this object. Clear hash is going to take the hash key that we want to delete inside of Redis, and then we're going to add a little bit of logic right here to look into our Redis instance and delete whatever data is stored right there. To delete all the information associated with a given key, we write client.del, and then we pass in the given key. Now, just like before, remember that this hash key right here might accidentally be provided as an array or an object or something like that. So to avoid any type of error, we're going to pass in that hash key after stringifying it. So I'll say json.stringify hash key, like so. And that's pretty much it. So now we can import this object, including the function that is nested on it, into any other file inside of our project. We can then call clear hash, pass in the key that we want to delete, and it should clear all the data that is stored at that particular key. In particular, for our application as it stands right now, if we pass in a user's ID, it should automatically clear all the data that is stored on their little nested hash container thing. Okay, so let's give this a quick test. I'm going to flip on over to my blog routes file. And then at the top, I'm going to import that function that we just created. So I will say const clear, what do we call that thing? Clear hash. And we're going to require that from up1 directory services cache, like so. Now I want to clear a user's cache after they create a new blog post. So I'm going to go down to the route handler that deals with post requests to create a new blog post. So I'm going to go down, down, here we go, right here. So this is where we attempt to save our blog post and then send a response back to the user. So after we send that response, we're going to kill their entire hash key, all the data that is stored inside of Redis that is associated with this particular user. We're going to refactor where we actually do this clearing of the cache in just a second. So for right now, I'll just say that, hey, at the very bottom, after everything else is done, let's go ahead and try to clear out that information. So down here, I'll call clear hash, and I'm going to use the user ID as the key that we're trying to delete. So I'll say rec.user.id, like so. Okay, so let's give this a shot. Now to make sure this is working, we should be able to create a new blog post and then come back to this blog's route and immediately see the new post appear on the screen. That's how we're going to be able to know that yes, it did in fact work. So I'm going to get my lorem ipsum text again. I'll create a new post. I'll say my 4th blog post. I'll enter in my content. I'll do next. I'll save the blog, and then I should see it automatically appear as the 4th one, and I definitely do. Let's try refreshing really quick just to make sure that that sticks around, and yep, it definitely does. Cool, so this looks pretty good. Let's take a break right here. We're going to continue the next video, and I'm going to show you one last change that we're going to make that is going to make this clearing of our hash data or our cache data a little bit more automatic than it is right now. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.